So you're new to Genshin, you're doing some 10 pulls in the current banner, and while you don't get a 5-star, you do get 4-star Gaming. Now, what do you get with Gaming besides possibly one of the best built 4-star characters in Genshin? Well, Gaming is a claymore-wielding pyro user who does a lot of damage through plunging attacks. And in this video, we are going to look at the basics of Gaming, how his kit works, how his skill works, different things like that. So just like we do in every one of these videos, we're going to look at the current build of the current Gaming that we are using for this video. So my Gaming is level 70 out of 70 with 13,000 HP, 1700 attack, 40 EM. For his crit split, he is 57.7 over 139.9 with 127 energy recharge, 46.6 pyro damage bonus. With weapon, I am running a level 80 R1 Serpent Spine. This is going to be one of his best weapons. For artifacts, 4-piece Marshmallow Hunter. Now you might notice that there is a 4-star circlet. I need to get that as a 5-star, but I ran that domain so much and I was only able to get a 4-star. He is C2 and his talents 164. Let's look at his passives real quick. Whenever the plunging attack from his skill happens, it hits an opponent, he will regain 1.5% of his max HP for basically 4 times under a second to heal him back up. This is why he works really, really well with Marshmallow Hunter, even without Farina. His second passive, when he has less than 50% HP, he gets an incoming healing bonus, so that way he'll heal more. Whenever it's over 50% HP, he will gain a damage bonus of 20%. So pretty good passives to work with Gaming. And real quick, we're going to run through his constellations. His first one, whenever his lion meets back up with him during his burst, he is going to heal 15% of his HP. Without this, run a shielder. With this, you don't have to. The second one, whenever he receives healing and it overflows, his attack will be increased by 20%. Third one is going to be a normal one where he's going to increase the level. I believe that is his burst. When his bestial ascent hits an opponent, it will restore 2 energy, meaning that it just gives him more energy to use his burst again. C4 or C5 is going to be normal. C6 is his insane when it increases the crit rate and crit damage of his plunging attacks, which is crazy good for Gaming. And getting C6 on a 4-star is not as difficult as getting C6 on a 5-star. So this is a really good built character for Gaming. This is one of the reasons that he is so good, why I said earlier that he is one of the best built 4-stars in Genshin. So we're going to look at his basic attacks first. His basic attacks are going to be basic. They do have a really cool animation here though, with the final one, him going up on that pedestal and jumping off with the lion costume. It's really cool. His charge attacks are going to be the Beyblade version where he just kind of spins around. Now, his skill. He is going to rush at an enemy. If he hits an enemy or an object or a wall or something like that, it will then send him up into the air, which then he can do a plunging pyro attack. Now, something that you'll notice is that his HP does decrease during this. He will lose HP whenever he does this. That's why that passive comes into play, where it'll give him a little bit of HP back, but also his C1 helps a lot with regaining that HP during his burst, because it will just continuously go down without C1, making him be low HP, which is why I said run a shielder. If you use his skill and you don't hit an enemy, an object, or a wall, nothing happens. You have to hit an object, an enemy, or a wall to go up into the air to then follow it up with a normal attack that will do a plunging attack. And that will always be pyro. Now, his burst. His burst is going to allow him to do his skill multiple times without as long of a cooldown. It's going to do an initial very high damaging pyro hit, where he is going to launch the line into the air. Whenever it lands, it does a ton of damage. Now, you will then be able to do his skill. His skill also gets a buff in damage during his burst. It will do more damage. So then he will do the same thing. He'll go forward. Once he meets an enemy, an object, or a wall, he'll go up in the air, allowing him to do a pyro plunge attack. Now, whenever you do it though, you will see this little lion, right? The lion moves away from Gaming. When it meets back up with him, it resets his skill cooldown, which is really good. Having the C1 also means that he gains the HP back that he loses during his skill. Also affecting Marshmallow Hunter, also working really well with Farina. So if you don't have C1, this is one of the instances where you need to run Zhongli or you need to run Layla. Layla works really well with him, and then Layla we trust. So I recommend Layla. Now, using his burst, you are going to get a ton of damage output, right? You do almost need to make sure though, if you go too fast, you're not going to allow for the reactions to happen again, right? So if you're pairing Gaming with somebody like Farina or Rosaria or something, you're trying to get vaporize or melt reactions, go a little slower. So that way you can try and time it to where Gaming is getting a vaporize reaction or a melt reaction instead of just doing straight up pyro. Also, you can move towards the lion a little bit to reset the skill cooldown a little faster. So do kind of be aware as to where the lion is on the field. So that way, if you're like, man, my skill is not resetting as fast as I need it to, you just need to make sure that you're close to the lion. You're not like running away from him, because that can take longer to reset the skill cooldown. Also, if you activate his burst and you swap him off the field, it just cancels the burst. So now we are going to look at an early game, a beginner artifact set, and I'm going to say that's going to be Instructor, right? The EM for him is going to be really, really good, especially if you're causing vaporizer melt reactions. Also, it will give EM to your whole party, which if you're using him with Farina, that can be really good for her to be able to get some of those vaporize reactions as well. So I'm going to say Instructor set. Now, there is a massive difference between your beginner or early game artifact set and your late game artifact set. And we'll talk about that in the Artifact Grinding Hell video, which should be tomorrow. For the main stats, attack percent, pyro damage goblet, crit rate or crit damage. If you're running him Marshmallow set, crit damage. If you're running him with the weapon that I have on him, Serpent Spine, crit damage, right? I really got to get a better crit damage circlet because this was only a 4-star. For weapons, we do have Serpent Spine, which is a Battle Pass weapon, so anybody can technically get it if you spend the money. And it is one of, if not his best weapon. Serpent Spine is so good on Gaming. If you don't have Serpent Spine, you do have 4-star Rain Slasher, which is a very good option as well, especially if you're going to be running him in a Vaporize team or an Overvape team. This is going to be really good for him because you want that EM for the higher damage from Vaporizer melts. If you don't have Rain Slasher, you always do have the Event Cardboard Claymore, which is good because it gets up his energy recharge, letting him use his burst more often. It also gets up his attack twice because you can just get up the Melusine stickers on there and get the full passive of this weapon. So this can be a really good weapon for getting up his attack and some ER. If you are like, man, I don't have either of those, Serpent Spine or the Cardboard Sword, and Rain Slasher hasn't been on a banner since I was pulling, just go get the Fontaine Craftable weapon, right? It's going to get up attack as its main set, but it's going to get up even more attack because you are going to be fluctuating his HP, which is going to allow you to keep this passive up almost permanently. Now, Gaming is really good. Even without Cloud Retainer buffing his plunging attacks, with Cloud Retainer is just insane. Even without C6, he's still pretty good. Having C6 with Cloud Retainer is just even more insane. And because of how much his HP fluctuates on that bar, using him with Marshmallow Hunter and Farina is going to be really good. Because you can use Farina's burst, you can partner him with like Bennett, or if you want a VV Shredder in there, you could do like Sayu or somebody, or like Jean or something like that. So that way you're getting healing and VV Shred. And then you can go into Gaming and you can just make his HP fluctuate as well, getting a ton of fanfare points over to Farina. I do really recommend though, if you're going to be doing that, run a shielder. Run Layla or Zhongli and Layla We Trust. Run Layla, run one of them, so that way you can increase your survivability, right? That is going to be it for this video. If you have any questions, do be sure to leave it down in the comments. Myself or someone else be sure to answer it, and I'll see you in the next one.